So the last thing we're going to do, and we're going to say that this model is in a pretty good shape for us to rig, is I'm going to add that definition in where the pants meet and where the feet become the shoe. So let's do that real quick. I didn't add enough loops through this, so let's just do that right now. Where do we want that? Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think right here is good. Just get our edges out, and then we'll actually, it's this one that we want to scale out just a little bit. Press S to get that centered up so that you can orbit your camera around it. Let's add another edge loop, and then we're going to scale that one out for sure. Just so it's nice and kind of rounded right there. And then let's add one more. I feel like I want to slide this one up a little bit, so let's do an M and then O for slide. Or let's grab the edge loop first with the UL, and then we'll do M and O to slide it up. Okay. Sort of want to bring that in like this. There we go. All right. And now let's do another edge loop right at where it meets that. Like I said, this is sort of making a crease. It's making a crease for that, that geometry there. In fact, let's do one more right here. I'm just curling it down a little bit. So now we got some definition in these legs. Somehow I turned my camera in a way that I wasn't wanting to. Okay, so now we have that definition in the legs. Let me just turn it on to see how it looks. Cool. That's where our pants are. We're going to do the same thing down here with the feet. And it looks like I have some interesting creasing already happening. And I don't want that right there. I actually kind of want these to look like flats. So I want her foot to come out to about right here before the shoe starts to be more defined. And this is looking a little too square. So let's work on this a little bit. So now that we have, I think it was because we added these edge loops. So let's do some smoothing. We'll pull out our smooth brush, and we'll just let this do a little bit of, when you start clicking with your brush and nothing's happening, it's because something is probably already selected. So I'm going to turn this way down, 5% strength. See how it's like moving all this stuff around now. This is fine though, because what it's doing is it's fixing some of my modeling mistakes. Okay. I like what it's doing with the back of the shoe here, so that's kind of where I kind of wanted to be able to do that. Okay. But I do want to fix all this. So I'm going to grab my vertices, and let's just grab this whole loop, and then we'll straighten it out like this. Grab this one here. Straighten that out as well. Okay, so I'm trying to think how I'm going to add that definition. First, let me just fix this leg a little bit. I think this quad right here might give us some problems. So I think what I want to do is figure out a way to reduce this down a little bit, and I'm not sure how to do that yet. Because what I want to do is cut right here. So maybe I'll do that real quick. But then I wanted this to be cut as well. literally going along the edge where I want the cut to happen. Yeah, I'm going to back up. We'll start right here. So how do we create a surface, or how do we create that definition between the shoe and the foot? If we want it to look like a flat, what we can do is let's slide this edge loop a little bit forward. Using the slide tool, we just have to kind of slide it along. Oh, it didn't do it, so let's do the loop with the edges. All right, so if we slide this down here, what I can do is I can grab some of these faces here and extrude downward. So pressing M and then T to extrude, I can just bring it down like this. And then that's just created a little separation there. And then what I can do here is instead of allowing this to be like this, I can try to maybe merge some of these and just be okay with a couple of triangles right here, just along these sides, right? So let's just see what happens now if I turn on our subdivision surface. Now we have a little bit of separation. It's not a super great crease, so maybe what we can do is one more extrusion there. By holding M and then T and going downward. I'm going to get close so I can actually see where that's extruding. There we go, right there. So that should create a really nice crease now. And the only thing is I just don't want these, I don't want it to look like there's a crease in her foot. So that's why I welded those together. But let's just get these back out to where we can see them. I might even just slide these edge loops, or slide these points down so that there's, you know, really not a subdivision right here. But you know, actually, you know what I just did is I created an opportunity to make a quad here. So what I'll do is I'll weld these together so there is no crease there for the foot. Okay, now we've got this four-sided polygon as long as we grab this edge here. One, press M and then N to dissolve it. There you go. We've solved the issue. So now we have this really nice definition of where the, well, except for the back. All right, so let's figure that out too while we're at it. I want this shoe to be separated off. All right, so the way we need to create this division between the ankle and the shoe is using, you know, Cinema 4D's math against it a little bit. We have to basically select everything except for this ankle, and we're going to extrude out. And because we have preserve groups selected, what's really cool is that it's actually not creating any new geometry. And then make sure you don't have create caps selected here. But if you do this, you can extrude outward, and it creates this nice edge line around where we would want to have this, this shoe defined from the foot. And inside, you can see that it's just pushed that edge out, all of these faces out, because we don't have these selected right here on the foot. So this is really great. And then what we're going to do too now is we'll just move some of these out a little bit, give it that rounding. And then we're going to add one more edge loop around that inside loop that we just created, just to give it a little bit more definition. Let's make sure we're on edge mode here. And we'll grab this loop here, and we'll just scale it in a little bit. So hopefully that didn't create... Okay, well, scaling's not going to work for that, but what I will do is just go through and just kind of move these in just a little bit to add a little bit of like roundness to where this shoe meets the foot. So we just want to pull up some of these points. There's only about 10 of them, so I'm just going to go do that real quick. This is just giving the subdivision surface something to work with to sort of curl that around the shoe, the foot. It's not vitally important. It's just something that I like to do to give it that little bit of extra rounding. We're almost done here. Look at that. All right, so there we go. I think that's all of them. Yep. So let's see what that did when we turn on our subdivision surface. Really nice. Now we have, now we have a shoe that actually looks like it's sitting right on her foot, right on the ankle. And let's back up. We'll just look at how our entire model looks with everything unsoloed. Whoop. There we go. She is ready to rig. I'm just going to check it against this model sheet. You know what? I forgot one more thing. There's an added detail that I have in the drawing that I like to add to this model, and that's her infinity scarf. So let's do that next. All right, so with the infinity scarf, we are going to use splines again. And what I would like to try to do is we'll just make it by hand. So let's go to, this is good to know how to use splines and manipulate them. So let's go to our top view here. And I'm just going to kind of draw a few lines. Can't really see where it ends, but that's where it ends right there. Oh, it didn't even, okay, well. All right, so now we've got a spline. Looks like it's created it at the origin of the world. So I'm going to pull it up some, and I'd like to just kind of manipulate some of these points so that they're all kind of doing something interesting around one of these shapes. Whoa. And of course that it's going around, you know, it needs to go around her neck. Sometimes when you get a point like this where it just ended up being a straight, you know, curve, it's not curving like you like, what you can do is just go up to Mesh, Spline, and then do a soft interpolation, and it will change it back into a rounded point. All right, I'm not going to spend too long on this because it really is just a messy scarf, and so we can just kind of mess with it a little bit, make sure that these are all kind of curving and they're not just, none of them are straight. Okay, I'm going to actually just duplicate this exact same spline. We'll move it down. We'll rotate it around a little bit. You know, move some of the points around even. Let's go into here and let's just kind of manipulate some of these points. Really not too important here. This is just an interesting way to create geometry inside of Cinema 4D. We're going to be using what's called a loft NURB surface. And then we'll just make one here. Rotate it again. Just see how this looks. In fact, I think we want to do this a few more times. 1, 2, 3. I want it to curl back in on itself right there, so that's why I'm doing that. And let's do another one at the top here. That might be a little high. Looks like according to this right here. Okay. And one more small one at the top. Like really small. Okay. I'm going to make sure they're in order. So I want the smallest one first. Call this 1, 2. This is good for 3, 4. Oops. 3, 4, 5, and then 6. I think this is actually the exact order that we want. And we have to put all of these inside of a loft surface. And so actually not dragging them all at once, but let's just make one loft surface first. And let's drag them all in order inside of that loft surface. See what happened here is it's trying to create a surface across all of those splines. It looks like I've got a few of them a little too close to each other, but we're getting there, you know? We've got something that we can work with for this infinity scarf. Really not too bad for just a couple of minutes of work. So let's just manipulate some of these points around a little bit. I want to definitely move some of these off of each other. Right? This third one might be in a little bit too far right here, so let's just pull that one out. I like how that one's really curling all the way out there, but you can just kind of like manipulate it how you want just to get a, you know, and again, you can even take the geometry that's going to be generated by this, which we are going to turn into polygonal geometry in just a second. And sculpt it to your liking. If you feel like, you know what, it needs another kind of curl to it, you can drag in another one, just kind of like scale it in a little bit and see how that just added a nice curl to it. This top one is just a little too curly at the top, so let's just drag it down. It's hard to see these handles. So let me actually, I wonder if I can just solo this. Okay. So yeah, you can manipulate these curves to your heart's content until you're feeling like it's something that you really like. This is looking pretty good, so I think I might just go with it. This is just the inside curl, you see? So that one that was smaller on the inside helps it to kind of curl back in on itself. Cool. So let's just go with that. Let's call this the infinity scarf. I don't remember what this one was, so it looks like it's her legs. Okay. And let's unsolo everything. And what I want to do with this infinity scarf is I'm going to go ahead and make it editable by pressing, let's just try doing a right click on this and do a current state to object. All right, so it kept it with caps, which I'm not sure if I want. Oh yeah, so it created a cap right where it meets the neck, and I don't think I want that, so I'm going to delete the caps. Interesting. All right, maybe I do want those caps. So when I deleted the caps, it looks like we got that big opening there. But instead of a cap, I think what I want to do is just take this loop here and extrude it downward. Extrude it in a little bit more and then have it go down. So this will just be easier to rig and stuff. But we'll probably end up having this infinity scarf following our model anyway, rather than being actually rigged into it, because there's so many points in this that it's just going to be very difficult to paint wastes on all of it. So let's just start to sculpt it a little bit, and we'll just call it done. Looks like my sculpting tool is on smooth, so let's change it to smear. Just make sure this is following the contour of her body here. Certainly in the back, I want this to, I'm going to increase the strengths quite a bit here. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. Great. Congratulations, you finished modeling your very first character in Cinema 4D, and now we're ready to rig it, which is another really exciting part, and it's not as scary as you might think. So let's go ahead and move on to the next step.